You know, professional telephone technique involves confidence. And whenever I say the word confidence, I think about an article that I read years ago, and this is actually back in the 70s. It was an article about an insurance agent. I read it in Newsweek. But this insurance agent did something that was totally and completely unbelievable. He earned over $1 million selling life insurance. Now, that isn't unheard of, earning $1 million. I mean, some people can do that by selling one group policy. But this individual did it by selling individual policies. And the highest policy that he sold in that year was $100,000. Now, to bring that into perspective, $100,000 at that time in commission on a $100,000 policy would be equivalent in real estate to a $30,000 home sale. Think how many homes at $30,000 apiece you would have to sell to earn $1 million. And then in the interview, he was asked the second question. What do you attribute your success to? Your ability to earn the $1 million. And he said two things. One, I never for a minute doubted myself. I didn't listen to other people. I didn't hear what they had to say. I just knew positively that I was able to do this. And the second reason, and this kind of threw me, he said, I use a canned presentation. Now, when I hear the term canned presentation, my immediate reaction is a magazine salesman on the phone or somebody telemarketing. But what he meant by that was that he had total and complete product knowledge. Total and complete product knowledge. To the point that there wasn't anything anybody could say about a policy, about the terms, anything that he did not have a response to. Be it a question they ask, an objection they raise, or a statement they make, he has something that he could say. How would you like to have total and complete product knowledge in 2 weeks? If you want to grab a paper and pencil and write this down, I'll give you an exercise that will allow you to have total and complete product knowledge in a 2-week period of time. There are two things you have to understand about this exercise. First of all, it's time consuming. It will take you a minimum of 20 to 30 hours to accomplish this. But you're going to do it in 3 separate sessions. And the second is that it takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline. The best way to do this would be to do it at the library in the quiet room. And most libraries today have what are called quiet rooms. It's simply a room where there's no books, no computers, just desks and chairs. And it's an ideal place to do this. But what I mean by total isolation in the quiet room is that you don't have your phone with you. Not that you turned it off or put it on vibrate. You don't have it with you. You need to give this total and complete concentration. Now, in order to do this exercise, you have to do it one day, let's say Saturday, then 1 week later, Saturday, and 1 week later on Saturday, over that 2-week period of time. It does not work over 3 days, and it does not work over 6 weeks, every 2 weeks. Over 3 days, you don't give yourself enough time, and over 6 weeks, you lose it before you really have garnered the information. It only works over a 2-week period of time. Now, the first thing that you want to write down, to do the exercise, what you need to do is develop 2 folders. One folder we're going to call the Forms folder, and the second folder we'll call the Marketing folder. First of all, the Forms folder. From whatever source that you have, whether it's a file cabinet in your office or whether it's online in your website, get every single document, every legal document that you can get your hands on, from listing agreements to addendums to contracts, everything that you could possibly find. All of the disclosure statements that your state requires, the seller's disclosure of defects, a buyer's disclosure, the affiliated business disclosure statement if you have a mortgage company that's required by federal law, any form at all of them, and put them into one folder. Don't do anything with them, just put them into the folder. You'll probably end up with about 1.5 inches of paper in that folder. The second folder is going to be the Marketing folder. Go to your marketing source, whether it's a supply room in your office or online, but get a copy of every marketing piece you can find. Brochures, pamphlets, reprints, articles, brochures, postcards, whatever it might be. Get a copy of everything and put them into a folder. Now, day 1, first sitting, And this day will take probably 10 to 12 hours minimum to do. But what you're going to do is put down Forms folder. And within the Forms folder, what you need to do is, one, read every document word for word and have a highlighter pen in your hand highlighting anything that you do not understand. In other words, again, read every document word for word. Don't just try to skim over it. Read it word for word, and anything that you don't understand, highlight that item. Now, turn it over. Keep doing it for every single page. Now, some of the things will be self-explanatory, and you don't have anything that you've highlighted. As an example, within our company, we have a general addendum form, which just calls for the owner's name and address, and then in turn, a place where, and the buyer's name and address, and a place where you can put in whatever verbiage you want to use in an addendum. So obviously, if there's nothing you need, just throw that away if there's no questions you have on that. Now, your homework assignment for the following week in the interim is to find the answers to all of the items that you highlighted. Go to your manager, go to your mentor, your field trainer, email me, but find the answers to everything you possibly can about those things that you highlighted. Now let's go, we're still under day one. Now let's go to the marketing folder. Now with the marketing folder, you have probably about 6 inches of paperwork and brochures and pamphlets and everything in front of you. What you want to do is read each of the documents word for word again, asking yourself these questions. Could I use this, or could I say this? Read each brochure word for word, asking yourself the 2 questions, could I use this, or could I say this? And highlight all of the yes responses. Some of the things that you read within a brochure, you'll say to yourself, you know, oh, I don't like that. That doesn't fit my personality, or I don't think I could say that. Okay, fine. But other things you're going to read, and you're going to say, hey, that's cool, I could use that. Highlight all of the yes responses. And then the last step is to, on the front of the brochure, write down the number of items that you highlighted. So you might have put 12 down as the number of items that you highlighted. Now, before I go into the second week, or 1 week later, the second session, I want to ask you a question. If you take it out of the realm of real estate for just a moment. If I had a company and you wanted to come to work for me, and you sent me a resume and I called and said, come on in for an interview, and you did, and after the interview I decided I'm going to hire you, and I said, here's the package. We're going to pay you $140,000 a year, and here are all the benefits. We have a 401k program. We also will match all contributions you put into it. We also have a dental plan, a health plan, and so on and so on and so on. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to have a staff meeting. And in turn, I want you to be there, but you're not going to have to participate. But I do want you up and knowledgeable about everything that's going to be said during this meeting. And so what I'd like you to do is take this stack of paper with you tonight and read it. And the stack of paper that I'm talking about is 7 inches thick. Now, if you wanted that job, would you read that information and that paperwork so you'd be up and running the next morning for the meeting? Well, my question to you, if your answer is, of course I would, well, I have 2 questions. Number 1, could you earn $140,000 a year in real estate? And the answer is obviously yes, of course you can. The second question is, why haven't you already done this exercise? Why haven't you already gone to the supply room and pulled down every marketing piece and gone online and pulled all the documents that you can, the legal forms and so on, to make yourself knowledgeable about everything in your new trade, your new field? Okay, let's go back to the exercise. Now we're 1 week later, and we're going to write down Forms folder. And in the Forms folder, what you're going to do this time is read only the highlighted items. The rest of it you understood, so you don't need to read those. Just read the highlighted items. And then scratch out everything that you now understand. And obviously, if you scratch everything out, just throw the paper away. And don't be alarmed here if you can't remember everything that you found the answers to. During the last week, you did find the answers to everything you highlighted, but you can't remember the answer. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. And what you need to do during the next week is go find the answers again, and don't be embarrassed by it. Just simply say, I forgot what you said. What does this mean again? And then in turn, find out the right answer. The next part is the marketing folder. With the marketing folder, you have in front of you the 6 to 8 inches of marketing material. What you want to do now is simply look at the top piece. Don't read it, don't do anything with it, but in your mind, try to remember every single item you highlighted. All of the items that you've highlighted. Now, when you've exhausted all possibilities, you can't think of anything else, then at that point, write the number down of items that you were able to remember. And then in turn, go to the second one. And you continue to do this. Now, with the first one, when you wrote the number down, what you're going to do before you go to the second one is open it up and read everything that you highlighted to remind yourself of those highlighted items. But that exercise, trying to remember, writing down the number, then reading, you're doing with each of those items in that 6-inch stack of paper. And then day 3, which is 2 weeks later, the third sitting, do the same thing, just repeat what you did the week before. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to find that when you go back the second week, your forms folder will probably be about half full. You might have a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of paper, and you remembered the other things and you threw those pages away. You go to the marketing folder. Your first number you wrote down was 12. A week later, the number that you write down will be very close to, but very rarely more than about 50%. You might write down 5 or 6 items that you were able to highlight. But when you come back a week later, the number that you write down for the marketing folder, first of all, the forms folder will be virtually empty. You might have 3 or 4 pages in there that you still have a question on. But the marketing folder, you'll look at that number, the third number you wrote down, and it will be very close to, if not exactly the same as the first number. You will have total recall. Total recall means that you can literally pull something out of that file and talk about it intelligently, professionally to someone for a period of time. As an example, the example I use in class is I'll say the question that I posed to you earlier, where would you be moving when I sell your home? And in turn, if you ask me that question and I'm the seller and my response is I'm being transferred to Atlanta, well, the first thing that should pop into your mind is relocation and your relocation service. And now you have something that you can talk about. And where did that come from? You just pulled it out of the folder. There isn't anything that anybody can say to you that you will not have a response, be it a question, an objection, a statement. You're going to have something to say. Total product knowledge in a period of 2 weeks. You have, whether you realize it or not, you have a photographic memory. You may not have any film in it, but you still have a photographic memory. Let me prove this to you. If for just a moment, close your eyes. I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture something with me. What I'd like you to picture is you're standing across the street from where you live. And now what I'd like you to do is put your car in front of the house. Now, in turn, I want you to put your cell phone on top of the car. Can you see it? Now I want you to remove the car. Leave the cell phone in the air. You can still see it there. It's still suspended in midair. Now what I'd like you to do is I want you to put the very first car you ever owned underneath your cell phone. Can you see it? That's your photographic memory. We all have it. We just don't use it enough to realize that we can do it. How many of you saw that in color? You know what that means? I have the foggiest idea. I really don't. It does mean something, but I just don't know what it means. I have never, ever been able to visualize in color. The only time I can do it is when I'm totally, completely relaxed. Like just before you go to sleep, you're literally on cloud 9. At that point, I can visualize in color. Aside from that, all I can do is see everything in black and white. It's cut and dry. There is no in-between. So professional telephone technique evolves with confidence, and only knowledge will create the confidence. Only knowledge.